Hey, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time watching, I am Matt, and I'm here working on this 1950 D4 towards the end of the project, or maybe the middle, or I guess kind of the beginning of the project here. And if you saw last week, I was working on this steering clutch. Still waiting for that stuff to show up in the mail to actually take this thing apart. The mail has just kind of held my package for weeks now, and I have no idea when it's coming back. Time has come to work on this thing, which I have been dreading for a while, mostly because I haven't actually looked underneath it to see what kind of terrible things are growing under there. But really what the job here is going to be just cleaning this up top and bottom, and then tightening up these linkages. I think some of these are just related because it's not connected, but it was like this even when it was on the machine. These don't wobble. I think it's just they need to be tightened up. This clutch, this here, there's going to need a new bushing in there or something. And then that's super loose in there. So there's going to be a lot of cleaning up in here. When I took this thing off the machine, this right here, this spring, which is I think is a steering clutch return spring, it was just laying in there. I don't think I showed that on a video, but I think that's why one of the steering clutches wasn't returning. Anyway, I've kind of been thinking this is going to be difficult because this thing weighs so much, so you can't work on the top and the bottom at the same time, but I think I've kind of devised a plan. It might look really stupid and dangerous, but I think it'll work. All right, so here's the plan. I got this thing ready to go here. I've ratchet strapped this 6x6 to this post, which I can guarantee you is not going to go anywhere. And I'm going to lag bolt it vertically to the side of this post. Handles this way, so that way when I'm walking by the other side, I don't catch them on my stomach, which I'm liable to do. And the only snafu here is I want to raise it up a little bit so I can put like a plastic dish under it, so when I go ahead and rinse this thing out, I don't get just, fluid and crap all over the floor. So I'm going to try to set it up on end here and then slide it over and hopefully get it in there. Before I forget, dipstick out. I think that's gonna work okay. It's really solid on here. It ain't going anywhere. And let's give this thing a look over. So obviously we have the clutch compartment here. This is the linkage for the clutch, and this is the interlock lever. Transmission compartment. This looks actually really clean. No obviously this interlock should be working. I'm not sure. We're gonna have to figure out why that wasn't working. Shifter here, a little bit of rust in there, not a big deal. And then if you remember in the last video, or I don't know how many videos ago that was, when I painted the diff cover, so this is kind of what I was expecting, where condensation obviously been forming on all this linkage here. And so this looks like something I might have to take apart and clean up. And so this right here is the clutch cover. This comes off. All those linkages, it doesn't look too bad actually, just looks like a few cotter. Look at that. We got a broke. This is broken, completely missing linkage. So that's probably why that steering clutch didn't work, I would guess. And what do we got going on here? So the spring is supposed to go here. This thing's turned around and frozen. So we got a little bit of work to do there. Quick update on this thing. So if you see where this is broken, if you look over here on this other shaft, it's got a notch worn in it too. And I was just cranking on the handle. When you push the handle all the way forward, this does come close to contacting, so I'm almost guessing this thing was run way out of adjustment for a while, which may explain things. I don't know. I'm gonna have to take it apart, but I guess I'll start at the top and work my way down. So the first thing is this interlock. So there's multiple issues going on here, I think. First, I don't know if this rod right here, I think it's supposed to be straight and it's bent. So that's gonna have to come out. And then when the, so basically the way this interlock works is these feet come down right here when it's locked, and those feet plug into here, and then this prevents these forks from moving around. So it's a really simple system. I think the problem though was adjustment. So if I bring the lever back too far, then these things are just loose on here. And this linkage, pretty dang loose. And I think right in here, that loose and ain't helping, but I think part of the problem is this is bent. This is rubbing up against this arm. So I guess first step's gonna be taking that out. I did pull the gear shifter out, and that's actually, the rubber and the boot and all that looks really good on there. It was not leaking water into the transmission case. And then over here, well, this is loose right now, but this in here is bad. And then I think the bushing or whatever runs that is bad. The real question is if these shafts are keyed, because getting these two brackets back on is going to be tough. There is a key on there. Thank God. Okay. This one's pretty loose on here. I guess before I do that, I need to take this cotter pin out. That's on this interlock thing. Okay. All right. So I'm just guessing the shaft isn't supposed to wobble in here this much. Looks like there is a bushing in there. So it's brass, I can tell right now. Before I forget, let me shoot some brake cleaner down this tube here and see if it's clogged. That's good. I don't know how all that grease got on that cup then. Just spent the last about 10 minutes trying to get this cotter pin out of here. It's way deep in there. But anyway, it's out. Take a look at this. The parts manual for this rod assembly shows it being straight. I don't know. This looks like it's just bent all like crazy. This doesn't look right to me. All right. Let me get this spring off of here and see if we can bend it straight. This thing gonna go shooting off of here? Probably. Yeah, I don't know, guys. This doesn't look right. There's like 5 different bends in here. I did confirm that it is actually supposed to be straight. I checked online on the Antique Caterpillar forum, and there was some people that told me it's supposed to be straight. So it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. So I'm gonna give this a shot and see what it looks like when it's used. See if it's hitting still. Okay, I pulled the key out of one of these shafts here. They're not messing around with those. And then I can lock this up here. It is serious business getting this in here without it falling out. It's they left no room here. You actually have to get the pin started before you drop it in. Still hits right here, but I guess the question is it supposed to be? Oh, I think it's supposed to be like that. So I think it goes there, think that's how it's supposed to be. There's a cam down here and it was on the wrong. It was gone too far. So now that we're there, that only should go to here. This would stop the interlock. Okay, I think I know what's going on here. So this is, I got the shift lever stuff in here right now. These are where the interlock cams hit. So boom, it's locked in right there. The depth of this is about a little bit lower than the case, so that's right where it would be in the actual machine. And then if you go further on this lever, which is about to pop out, then it pushes this block up on the spring and makes it even tighter. All right, so that's it for the interlock. Let's keep working on the linkage. Now that I can break this down now. So real quick on here, this shaft is an inch, and you can see here it's worn a little bit. There's a band right here, and it's worn just from the there's even pitting on there. But it's only a few mils off of an inch where the non-worn parts. So I did find new bushings over here. There's 2 bushings in this hole. These are completely worn out. I found those, so I'm gonna replace those bushings. I'm gonna pull them out now. The bushings are on their way, but there's no hurry because what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna be working my way down this case, stripping it all the way down, and then pressure washing it, cleaning it, and I might even paint it before it's on the machine, just to have this done. When this is on the machine, the floor plates cover most of it, so you can't even really paint it. So it'll be nice to come over here, take all this stuff off, and pressure wash it, clean it and paint it, and just make it look real nice. It shouldn't even really be that much work. I mean, it's all right here. It's the best time to do it, in my opinion. I'm always a little worried about unscrewing pipe fitting stuff, but this was just hand tight. So this wasn't too dirty. I don't know how all that grease got in the cup over the clutch. It's a kind of a mystery. But it'll clean it up now. I'm gonna take I'll probably just leave this pipe on the other side, and I'll just plug it from the top, so when I wash it, it doesn't get, or paint it, it doesn't get full of paint. So down here in the transmission area, I'm just, as I said, working my way down. There's just this gasket, which is, by the way, is below the surface of these 2 flanges. So this gasket wasn't even doing anything. That's probably how all the fluid was getting in the clutch and the steering clutch compartments. So let me pull this out real quick. And then I also had some really old RTV on it. Yeah, and this is pretty crusty. Next up, we got this vent cap. Oh man, this stuff is just loose on here. Okay. I'm honestly surprised this stuff isn't stripping out. I think I'm getting kind of spoiled here. We're nothing yet to break a bolt off in this thing. Yeah, this definitely needs to be cleaned up, but can't blame it. All right, last thing on the clutch is gonna be this. So I'm gonna take all this stuff apart and paint it anyway. I always wonder, are these pins supposed to sit flush? I guess they sit flush on there, but this is supposed to have a little bit of slop. I don't like having slop on stuff like this. It just drives me crazy. This is why I'm taking this thing apart. So this length's adjustable. This still looks good. It's been welded here. I don't know if that's a repair. It's a little bit bent, but not too bad. I mean, someone was really cranking on this linkage stuff, obviously, because everything was kind of bent on it. This camera. All right, so then there's just a little tightening knob, and then we'll see how bad this, I guess I can just pull this whole thing out, can't I? So obviously we have 2 bearings in there, or 2 bushings. A lot of grease in there, a really hard grease. So let me clean this up real quick. So you can see that, I mean, that bushing's toasted. That one's just as bad. Well, I started pressing this bushing through that way and it just collapsed. There's like a fabric lining or something in it. I'm not really sure what's going on. The parts manual just shows it as a bushing, but this one feels like a normal bushing. I'll have to see what's going on with these things. They're definitely worn, like that one looks oblong, but I don't know what the deal was with this stuff, this fabric, or I don't know what it is. Probably something toxic. All right, this pretty much does it for the clutch. The only other bushing and linkage stuff is this arm, which goes inside of the, like, I guess the bell housing. This bushing, I think, is like brand new. All these channels in there were full of grease, like really, really hard grease. So I cleaned all those out, and there, when I put it on the rod that it goes on, there's like no slop for actually both of these. So this, I don't even have to mess with. I'll just leave it as is. And then there's obviously some more adjustments there that I'll do later. Well, if you see what came in here, I got brand new clutch pressure plates. These, I'm assuming they're brand new. We got new springs. The threads on this geared plate are even, ooh, might need to buff that out right there. There's a little ding, probably from the shipping process. But yeah, these are new plates. Another ding there, that's nice. No big deal. So we got those in. Okay, this is the entire clutch assembly except for the 2 shafts. There's the transmission shaft that comes in the top of this coupler, and then there's a shaft that goes from here down into the pilot bearing of the flywheel. And so basically you have, this is connected to a lever, and then you can pull this whole thing back, which disengages the clutch. And this is actually sitting back, and when you pull it back extra far, there's a friction material right here, and then this brake plate contacts it and slows this whole housing down, so that way you can shift gears without grinding all the gears in your transmission. Something I would have never known about until I actually took this thing apart and figured out how it worked. So that's a good thing. But anyway, I basically had to replace every part in here except for this collar. Like anything that's painted yellow I didn't replace, and I didn't have to replace this. But I can kind of show you what happened. So when I pulled it out of the tractor, this cup was completely full to the brim of just rust and grease, and there was no lubrication whatsoever getting down below. And I'll show you kind of how the way this cup works. Okay, so this stands up with this part on the top, and you drip oil in, and then the oil goes into this throwout, this brass collar here, and it keeps it lubricated around this thing. So what had happened is, because that thing was full, here's the original brass collar. This thing is so worn, like this channel is not supposed to be there. If you look, compare it against this, it was so worn. See how loose that is? It just wore itself to nothing. So when I got the new collar in, I held it up, and it still actually rattles on here a little bit, not as bad. So I took the measurements for this collar, and I sent it over to General Gear in Idaho, and he found a good machine that he could measure it on. And sure enough, I bought it from him, this new one, and there's a lot of material missing off of here, just based on how much rattling this thing was doing on here. It just must have beat the material off. So now with this one, it's much tighter. There shouldn't be really any rattling, and we should be good to go. I just don't want to hear rattling when I'm actually using the machine. So I'm gonna have to take this spider thing apart to get this on. Not a big deal. And then I got new flywheels. These things are brand new, and just because, I mean, based on how cheap they were, it was worth it. I mean, I shouldn't have even thought about it. And then I also had to replace this brake plate too. This is the new one. So I showed in another video, this thing is worn just like an oblong hole, and there's a ridge on each side. It's just no good. So I got this one. This side's brand new, it hasn't been used. This side's worn, but it doesn't matter. You only use one side. So it's common practice to just flip it over and use the other side. So all the actual clutch internal should be very, very, very nice, like new, pretty much. All right, guys, well, I guess that's the end of this video. Kind of a shorter one probably, but some progress was made, and then that's all you can really hope for. So hopefully either next week we'll be doing the steering clutches, or we'll be getting the engines, or I'll just be back on this transmission case cover. Kind of depends on what parts come and what I feel like doing. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it, and I will catch up with you again soon.